My name is Riley Schrader, and I am doing my presentation, and I did my essay over Giotto's Madonna Enthroned and his influence on future art. This is for Professor Scott Reed's Humanities 2 class. Did you know that Giotto di Bondone began the Byzantine style movement of three-dimensional paintings? While there is no solid information to find out where he was born, it was thought he was born in a small town in Italy by his parents, who were peasants in this small town. He was brought up by his father as a peasant and was never thought to be more than a peasant. But one day, he was found using a rock to create a painting of a sheep, and that changed his world forever. It changed his life. A famous artist at the time named Giotto saw Giotto making the sheep and was like, wow, you're really talented. Let me take you to Florence, we'll make you a big time artist. And he didn't realize at the time what an influence this young boy would make on art of the time or to the future of art, because he really made a massive impact. It was transformed completely by the use of his modeling techniques, his use of realism, as well as his observations of the natural world and human behaviors. His modeling techniques were one that were studied for years to come. The figures of his paintings seem three-dimensional, which adds depth to the painting with the use of light and shadows. This technique became a huge success in Byzantine art and was used to evolve art for years to come. His techniques in pieces of art continue to evolve by modernism and advancements of their time. The use of realism made these paintings feel as if they were sculptures and you could do a whole 360 around them, even thought to resemble living and breathing people. He especially put human perspective into these paintings, which just shows his use of realism as a dramatic effect in religious narratives. This was not like the traditional Byzantine art like Giotto was used to. According to Irene Earle's book, Artists of the Renaissance, she stated that he purposely gives us the spectacular color and ornamental lines of both Byzantine and early 14th century Sienese painters. Instead of going the regular route, he experimented and created something beautiful. And he broke through the iceberg of straight statue-like figures and instead created them from human perspective. He was credited with having banished completely the rude Greek manner and having revived the modern and good art of painting, and that was by North. His observations of the natural world and human behaviors are thought to be of massive influence on the amount of realism he portrayed in his painting, Madonna Enthroned, which is pictured here. His use of realism and modernism makes his Madonna Enthroned an evolutionary painting that can be used as a reference for future modernized paintings. His works of art, especially Madonna Enthroned, reflected the evolution of Byzantine art style into something more natural and realistic. By using specific techniques such as his use of light and shadows as well as modeling, he created a piece of art that would be studied for years. The technique of light and shadows had not been very well known, but since he figured out this technique, it became a very more well-known technique to be added into paintings. He demonstrated that painters could add substantial layering of meaning through representation, enhancing the viewer's capability to emphasize and understand the biblical narrative. That's by Brothers. Before this, biblical paintings were considered more of a symbolic reminder. In his Madonna Enthroned, he provided realistic depictions of a mother, as well as her trying to hold the baby up so he doesn't fall off her lap. And that's her pictured here in the throne. She's sitting here with a nice robe on, and she's holding a little baby that's supposed to be moving around. Back in the 14th century, painters had a lot of difficulty with restrictions as well as limited understanding of techniques. This included the light and shadows, perspective, and human observation, which was a huge part in creating this painting specifically, and not only that, but also his other paintings. His love for humanity was perhaps the source of which his innovation startled the world of art, the representation of living people. if this wasn't a printed paper, this painting is actually extremely realistic. You can see actual folds in her gown here, and then their faces are like extremely realistic, especially for that time. Like, think back, that was so long ago, and they were already creating art that looked like human people. Like, that's crazy. He did things that were never expected of him as a child. His parents never thought he would become anything but a peasant in their small town. Instead, he persevered and went on to become an extremely successful artist of the time, and he was also studied for years to come. With the help of Chiabu and many other successful artists of the time, Giotto was able to create pieces of art that is continued to be observed today. By using the techniques he learned over the years, he was able to alter the state of art itself and enhance it every way he possibly could. Light and shadow techniques, as well as proper perspectives, were harder techniques to understand and perfect in the 14th century. But Giotto mastered the skills quickly, only focusing on the visual until it was no longer. Giotto was playing with the unseen and creating beautiful things, and without him and his mentors, the Italian Renaissance as well as Byzantine art would have taken many more years to evolve into what Giotto changed so dramatically. From just a young peasant boy in a really small town in Italy to a profound artist of the 14th century, Giotto di Bondone impacted the art world and the viewers of his delicate and beautiful works of art innovation never thought to be possible during that time. That's the end of my essay. So here I put my works cited. I used this nice piece of navy fabric to try to represent the robe. And here I added the colors, which were very odd during that time. I mean, the gold background, which I put here, tried to make it pretty. That was very common, but the use of like purple and pink wasn't very common, and the use of this green kind of helped add dimension through the people here. I added this gold paint because it was iconic, as well as a textured brush just to kind of represent the amount of texture that he put into it, as in like the face and the robe. And yeah, that's it. Thanks.